We hear it so much that it feels like a buzzword, but it is far from it. Climate change is a real and serious issue.
So let's clear the air and create a more accurate picture of where we really stand on the issue of global warming, or, as it is now called, climate change. There are basically three groups of people dealing with this issue. Group one is associated with the scientific part of the United Nations International Panel on Climate Change. Group two is made up of scientists who don't see this as an especially serious problem. There are many reasons why the climate changes: the sun, clouds, oceans, the orbital variations of the Earth, and there is no evidence that CO2 emissions are the dominant factor. There is much agreement between both groups of scientists. One, the climate is always changing.
97% of climate scientists agree that this new tendency is not caused by the variations of the Earth's orbit, but rather very likely caused by human activities.
Two, CO2 is a greenhouse gas without which life on Earth is not possible.
The more heat they trap, the warmer our planet gets. And as our planet gets warmer, we begin to feel the effects.
Three, atmospheric levels of CO2 have been increasing since the end of the Little Ice Age in the 19th century.
10 out of the last 13 years were the warmest on record.
Four, over this period, past 2 centuries, the global mean temperature has increased slightly and erratically by about 1.8 degrees Fahrenheit or 1 degree Celsius.
But climate change as we know it today is characterized by an abrupt increase in the Earth's temperature. It is estimated to have gotten 1.2 to 1.4 degrees Fahrenheit warmer in just the last century.
5, given the complexity of climate, no confident prediction about future global mean temperature or its impact can be made.
One of climate change's biggest victims is our oceans. Ocean acidification, a direct effect of increased dissolved CO2. Ocean surface acidification has increased by 30%, putting the entire ocean food web at risk. This is bad news for the 1 billion people relying on the ocean as its primary source of protein.
The scenario that the burning of fossil fuels leads to catastrophe isn't part of what either group asserts.
Modern human activities have increased the release of non-naturally occurring greenhouse gases because we have stepped up our demand for burning fossil fuels. Just in the last century, sea levels have risen 6.7 inches, but the rate in the last decade has nearly doubled.
Global warming alarmism provides politicians money and power.
You have Republican candidates for president and in Congress telling you that climate change is a hoax, which is Donald Trump and other candidates' position. What they are really saying is, we don't have the guts to take on the fossil fuel industry. Do you know what happens to that Republican who listens to the scientists? On that day, that Republican loses his campaign funding for the Koch brothers and the fossil fuel industry.
This is clearly man-made and man-aggravated.
American energy dominance will be declared a strategic, economic, and foreign policy goal of the United States. It's about time. We'll get the bureaucracy out of the way of innovation so that we can pursue all forms of energy, but not to the exclusion of other forms of energy and other forms of energy that right now are working much better. We're going to cancel the Paris Climate Agreement.
Politicians, environmentalists, and media types can waste a lot of money and scare a lot of people. They won't be able to bury the truth. The climate will have the final word on that.